Facebook out there? Are you guys able to face with the book? Okay, I guess it's there. Okay. All right. Let's do this. Oh, yes. Come on now. Ready to go.
All I'm offering is the truth.
We're going to do this show tonight. Come on.
I'm telling you straight. It's my way or the highway. So anybody wants to walk, do it now. Captain's log.
Michigan gave us Motown, gave us Motown, gave us the Mustang.
I feel like on Fridays I should start like DJing or something. The our favorite quotes and the like. Welcome to the show, everybody. It's Hal Sparks, Megaworldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. Patreon.com/Hal Sparks. By the way, a week from tonight, Flappers show for all of our Patreon folks. Live at Flappers. I will be live streaming that to our Patreon folks. I don't put any of the political stuff behind a firewall because I feel like that's wrong and does not serve the purpose, and nor would the Patreon folks ask that of me. So I put what I would call the simply artistic stuff, for them. I put that out for them so that they have that thing that's a little extra something. Thank you. There you go. There's a lot of things to cover right now. This morning we got into kind of quantum computing and AI and robotics and the idiocy that is Glenn Beck, and and there's some overlap in that in our world, obviously. But I would rather not get too technical on something right out of the gate and go straight into something that people don't really understand. But since it so lines up with exactly what Donald Trump's entire presidency is, which is this illusion of competency and reality, and a smokescreen of complexity that keeps people from going like, well, Musk must be smart, electric cars / robot stuff. And, maybe microdosing mushrooms while you're doing ketamine and smoking so much weed, you're starting to have the same, like, throat epiglottal gargle when you speak that Dave Chappelle has, is exactly what Elon needs for his business. Whatever. Okay, maybe there's some people that believe that. But then there's also the folks who I think recognize fraud when they see it. When you straight up look at something and you're like, I don't know, at first glance, this seems like bullshit. And at second glance, and I'll bring in the chat room right now. Hi, chat room. At second glance, it not only looks like bullshit, it turns out a lot of people that are involved in it are screaming bullshit. And then at third glance, you're like, oh, this is fertilizer, folks. This is the only thing, only value to what we're looking at is straight up road apples. Although I wouldn't even say it has it in this case, because what we would be talking about here, if I may, is what I would call virtual road apples, virtual manure, virtual bullshit. That's what this is. And would it shock any of you if I came to you and I said, hey, remember Trump's meme coin that he put out, the $ Trump thing that all these assholes bought? And then they were like, he owns 80% of it, and anybody who buys into it is just going to basically lose a shirt. And there was this phrase, and I don't know, chat room, how many of you guys have heard this phrase, but a rugger, which is now in the meme coin and crypto world, is now effectively it's so pervasive it's become a thing. And a rugger would be a rug puller, somebody who sets up a scam coin and then pulls the rug out from everybody else. Okay, now in any kind of currency situation, that has happened before. And you could argue that George Soros, in many ways, made his billions of dollars by doing a put on the British currency and fucking around with it at the same time. So it's one thing to go, I think their system's going to crash. Everybody else disagrees. I'm going with my own thoughts, and I'm going to invest in my premonition. Right? That's how you would normally do this. This is normally how stocks would go. This is normally how currency exchanges would go, or whether or not there was a recession coming, those kind of things. Okay? So that's in the theory of like, I'm smartest guy on the block, or the guys from The Big Short or something like that. They're like, look, I'm looking at all the numbers that everybody's not paying attention to, and I have a bunch of money, and I'm going to put that money into the fact that I think all these motherfuckers are wrong. And if I'm wrong, I will lose my shirt. But if I'm right, everybody else will lose their shirt, and I'm going to make more money than is, intellectually processable. So that's how it's normally played. Then there's what George Soros and his ilk did, and the system around this, which is you do this put on it, and then you hedge your bet. But not by buying against it and going, hey, if it goes the other way, I'll at least have a little bit of money left over. What you do is you start sneaking out little stories about how things are going to collapse. And you use that collapse, that rumor of collapse, to drive the thing towards the collapse that you have bet on. Are you with me so far? Am I clear in this? Right? This is think of it as you have the keys to a bank vault. You have found a way. I love my little story analogies, and I hope you do too. At some point I'm going to need to do like little graphics. Like if AI gets along so much that it can, like, I can describe an image as I'm talking and it just pops up. We'll get there eventually. So you are blackmailing the manager of a bank, and that guy is giving you keys to the vault. Okay? And so you are, say, you're counting on being able to steal a certain amount of money from that bank. And then, instead of just doing that, instead of just stealing from that bank, what you do is you start a campaign. You take some money from that bank that you can steal from, and then you start telling stories about the bank across the street, and that it's going to collapse, and that people should put your money in the other bank to make it safe, the one that you have the key to the vault. And by doing that, you create a run on a bank where it destroys the bank. They take all that money out of the bank. Everybody gets scared to have their money in the bank that you're shit talking, and they take the money of theirs out of the bank and they put it in the vault you have the key to, that you are blackmailing the manager of. Okay, that would be the way that they rig some of these systems when it comes to currency. I've got access to this one big currency, this, whatever it is, the fucking real or ruples or the dollar or the loonie, it doesn't matter. You've got a bunch of those. And you know that people are going to go to that if this fails. So you actively seek to destroy the other currency. Okay? That's the world of George Soros, friend of all humanity. Just so you know. And he's not the only person who does it. It's just one of the most well-known because he almost destroyed the British economy by himself, pulling this kind of like an intentional rug pull on somebody else's currency. Now, here's the thing. In the world of regular currency, there are limitations on how much you can actually get at any given time. And there are regulators in Europe, and there's regulators on currency exchanges, and there's regulators in the SWIFT system. And those folks are watching the gate. Now, they may do it better at sometimes than others, but they're at least there, right? A guard that's looking the other way sometimes is still a guard most of the time, right? And so, is there a chance of fraud and other stuff? Yes. Do you have to be vigilant? Of course. That's why everybody's like, well, it's a lot of investment advice, whatever they're talking about. Any kind of stock or investment advice in general, because the regulator could be looking the other way, and the person that's selling it to you could have a stake in that thing, right? Now, that brings us to crypto. Trump's brought in this dude, is it Lutnick, who's his crypto czar or whatever, is his commerce secretary. But he's got this other guy who's his crypto czar. And both of them are working together. They had this little gaggle today because Lutnick was sworn in. And Trump has this idea that he wants to, it was David Sachs, thank you, who's a dipshit. They want, these folks want to essentially deregulate, as if there's any true regulation around it anyways right now, the crypto industry. They just want it, let their freak flag fly. Just let it roll, and it'll work itself out. It'll create a natural, magical market around it. And there's nothing, if people lose their shit, they should know better. And if if people don't join it because other people are losing their shit, that's just the market talking, right? You guys know how I feel about it. Crypto has only three purposes. A, it's not a currency. It is a method of exchange for human beings, guns, and drugs. That's it. Weapons, drugs, and slavery is what crypto is for. The only area where it operates like an investment is in its greater fool theory applications. The greater fool theory is that you have a shitty investment of any sort, piece of real estate, stock, a meme coin. And the idea is, it isn't worth shit, but you're hoping someone dumber than you will come along and pay you more for it. That's it. You are gathering this together because there's a social trend, or there's a social pressure campaign, or there's a nationalistic fervor idea on this, where somebody's going to pay you more for it because they believe in this thing more than you do. And your job is now to Barnum and Bailey your way out of this stupid investment that you made by tricking people into buying the next thing. And the entire Chinese, real estate market is largely based on this idea. Either investment properties to sit on that because you're going to have a kid and that kid needs a house because he's going to be a boy to get married, except there's no girl, and that's a bigger problem. Or you're going to buy this thing with your friends because it's the only thing you can invest in China, and you'll sell it later to somebody else, even though there are supposedly more houses than there are people by a factor of a third in China. Enough empty buildings to house the world's homeless 10 times over. That kind of shit. Because people are investing in these houses and these largely condos, and they're going to sell them to somebody else. Okay? Somebody else is going to come along because the market's awesome. And it isn't, and that's where everybody's losing their shirt. Like, they reached the end of that. There's a wall, and you're hoping, and you have to sell it before you hit the wall. I think the key to the greater fool theory is that all of these investments, there's a wall at some point. Either you need your money back at some point. You want to not walk away with zero or a loss, especially if it's leveraged. Or you've got to get rid of it before everybody realizes it's worth even less than you paid and you're in the hole. Okay? So you're driving towards a wall. So it's not just that you're trying to wait around till somebody dumber comes along. You've got to seek this fucking moron out and unload this shit. All right, that's the emergency stake of it. But on top of that, you're still, in most of these cases, whacked out on ketamine and cocaine, and you're convinced that, okay, I found a guy who will buy it, but I bet that guy will pay more for it. Maybe that guy will pay more for it. Maybe that. Okay, so that's the world of crypto trading right now, okay? It's coked and ketamined out its fucking ass. Nobody knows where it's going. And Trump's idea of success for it is to take the regulators away. Any traffic cops at all in this crazy race towards a concrete wall where these assholes are like juggling shit back and forth in a speeding car while they're gacked out of their fucking minds on coke and ketamine. Trump's idea is remove all the stop signs on this road. And you know those, and especially the signs that say, 20% grade, downshift if you got a big fucking load, right? That kind of, right? Okay. That's his idea. Which, by the way, I give a fuck. I'm not going to buy any of this stuff. It's completely stupid. It's a waste of your money and your life and your energy. It's evil in its usage most of the time. And the people who are going to get fucked in this kind of have it coming. It's like, it's almost like I feel like I should make a FAFO meme coin. Just buy, like, shit, I probably have to do that now, don't I? Just to fuck them. No regulation, just rug pull on these assholes, and I'll snipe my own shit. Okay, so that brings us to, if it's on the periphery, who cares? If it's a bunch of dickheads buying and selling this stuff, what do you and I care? Well, the president just made billions, in theory, of not quite liquid money right before he took office. And I would argue that in theory, it would get him out from under the pressure from whatever Putin and these other people have on him. Apparently not. Apparently it's not a money thing. It's a face thing. It's something they have. It's got to be video. Like we went to PP tape. It's not just debt. Debt can be shuffled around, and he doesn't have it anymore because this money. And if he can offload it, that's another thing. Okay, so FFIA fall for it again. Yeah. Well, so. Yeah, well, yesterday, hold on, let's see if I can I'll bring this up. I have a chain of events to show you in this. Okay, let's see. There we go. So Rob Shit. Shut up. Rob Shit from is he on Newsmax? I guess so. I always get them mixed up. Let's see, interviews. He's going to interview, Rob Shit was interviewing Elon Musk, who was gacked out of his fucking head. And he brings out, before he does the interview, Javier Milei comes out and gives him the chain, like this bejeweled chainsaw thing, and a bunch of Rob Shit that's that guy, gives him this chainsaw to fuck around with, and that he like, because Milei was known for showing a chainsaw and all this stuff, and by the way, Elon is cosplaying as a crypto douchebag. He's got a gold chain, and he's trying to look like nerd gangster. It's fucking lame. It's so fucking lame. But anyways, he brings in this, and of course it's off, and there's no fuel in it. It doesn't work. It's a fucking prop, which is whatever. Why don't you bring him a wooden, like, dummy gun while you're at it? But anyway, so he brings this out, and he poses with it, and Milei goes over and kisses his ass, and then he leaves. Okay. And then, he's handing this off, and then they put it down, and they do part of the interview. And it's just, you've seen little bits of this, I'm sure. And it's rambly, Trump ass kissing stuff, and shit is, if you haven't seen it, is trying to keep it together and make it seem normal, and he's out of his fucking mind on whatever that was snortable backstage. Just letting you know. But the point is that the fact that Milei shows up and hands him the chainsaw, and that Milei has been hanging around these guys, is, like, he was a big Trump fan and all that shit, right? But so what? You know what I mean? Like, there are other world leaders, and he's like, they're using him like a prop. Okay, but how much further does that connection go? Okay, let me show you something. Milei is currently under investigation for promoting a meme coin called the Libra. Show you this right here. So Javier Milei put out this like meme coin shit, and like boosted or boosted this meme coin, which turned out to be just it was a sniping endeavor. There was $4.5 billion in insider trading on it. And so here's what happens. The launch moment and the code to get it is supposed to be unknown. In these cases, you're supposed to be able to, on a meme coin, you're supposed to be able to like mine it really quickly, pretty simply, or just trade it straight out of the gate. And if you have the, people can set up bots to go for it, and and as soon as it launches, they release their bots and go for it. And that's how everybody does. And they'll say, hey, we're releasing this meme coin sometime in the next 24 hours. And so everybody sits there, gacked up on coke and ketamine and downing Jolt Cola and all that kind of shit. And it was a very 80s and 90s reference. And then as soon as it comes up, they start tapping away and trying to, grab as many as they can as the price go up, and it goes up. And then you either hang on to it if it's worth anything, or you sell it as people are buying it. And you find that window of the greater fool theory that happens in the first 24 to 48 hours or something. And you're like, I got a bunch of these super fucking cheap, and then I just sell it as it's going up and then get the fuck out, right? That's what happens with most of these things. Except in the case of, like I would argue, Trump and Melania's, which were really just bribe schemes. Nobody wants their money back. They can show Trump that they own a certain amount of it. Look how much of your meme coin I own. Okay? And they can use that as a manipulation point. Right? If I sell it, it goes down, and my buddies and I have a bunch of it, so we did you a favor. And if we sell it, it'll look like shit, and nobody will know we sell it because it doesn't work that way. Okay. So, but Milei was directly involved in this 94% rug pull crash on this meme coin that he promoted on his, shock of all shocks, X account. Okay. So, you see this in the side over here? You see it? This is the Libra. See this lady over here with her hands clasped? Well, why is that? Well, that's because, let me put this in here. Sniping is the insider trading of meme coins. Sniping means you and I know when the coin is going to launch, okay? We know the exact time it's going to launch. We know exactly when it goes live. Everybody else is just watching. So there's minutes, maybe milliseconds, depending on if they're at their computer, before they can buy stuff. But we can get in and buy it when it's next to zero, as it starts to spike up, whatever it is. And you can tell your buddies, and they can set up a bot, and that bot can literally be timed to the second that it comes online to buy a bunch of this shit. So you tell your buddy he's got $5 million, go, hey, set up your bots at 12:01 and 22 seconds. It's going to go live. Set them up to start buying it at that moment. And then here's the arc of expectation of it. As soon as it gets to this point, sell and get the fuck out. Right? Now, a bunch of these guys got side sniped because word leaked. And so the Libra coin, they started paying off some of the people that were promoting it to make them whole. But the average investor or whoever bought into this got absolutely fucked. It's also the guy behind this one and the Trump coin. Now, they mention in these articles about this, is this like insider trading? It is exactly like insider trading, only it's more brutal. And the difference with insider trading is I kind of worry about, and I think you probably do too, the employees at a company. Right? When insider trading happens, people can lose their fucking jobs that are just working at a factory that gets shut down because the company gets undercut, or they can have artificial growth in a company that ends up being pulled back later, and that fucks people or whatever. But real human beings are being affected by this. This stuff is kind of just amusing. Fuck them. I don't care. You know what I mean? It's like watching gymnastics in the Olympics, and you're like, oh shit, don't fall. I hope you're okay. And then watching the guys who ski and shoot guns, and you're like, this is hilarious. I don't really give a shit what happens to you. Is this good? Are they doing well? I don't know. If you lose, who gives a shit? If you win, I don't even think it means anything. It's very odd. Right? So this the same dude, this guy Hayden Davis, was behind both the Libra coin and the Melania coin, and participated in the Trump coin with other people, and they sniped all of them. Meaning that here's some good news. Here's the good part of this. Here's the sweet part. That this asshole basically stole money from Melania and Donald and Javier Milei's sycophant dickheads who were buying this thing. So, I mean, I don't think he's a good guy at all. But I do believe that, like, the right people got hurt. I give a shit, right? So maggots got, like, legs swept in this. In the same way, by the way, that think of this as a much bigger version of Steve Bannon's Build the Wall fake charity money grub, where he ripped off maggots for a fee, for a fund to build the wall that never went anywhere, and he just pocketed it, and Trump pardoned him. Same shit. Same shit. Like, none of these guys are going to jail for fucking each other, and the people that they're fucking, I don't care. Right? This is just, you know what I mean? It's like hearing that a bunch of like a Wagner rape squad found out they have HIV. You're like, I don't know what to tell you, dude. Fuck you. Revenge comes in very odd forms. So I'm not emotionally invested in this, except that I enjoy the fact that in Trump's attempt to, like, uplift, he's basically doing a Trump casino thing with crypto. That's what's happening here. Trump will do to cryptocurrency what he did to casinos, stakes, a university, an airline, a football team, right? And in many ways, there's been a lot of ebbs and flows in the crypto world, and the belief is that Trump was going to come in and give cryptocurrency, and especially Bitcoin, the boost it needed to go through the moon. And you could see it for a couple of months. There was this, right after the election, there was like, oh man, he's going to totally back it and stuff. And then when he did his meme coin, everybody's like, oh, fuck me. Like, this is a rug pull, and everybody knows it. Now, you watch, over the next 3 months especially, you're going to see the word rugger show up in regular conversation about this horseshit. And you have Trump and his ilk and his dipshit wife to thank. And his chainsaw swinging, sycophant, South American groupie. So I just thought I'd catch you up on this, that this is, for everybody who's like, he's running away with everything. They're going to do everything. They're going to get everything they want. Everything's going to work out, and he's going to screw everything, and blah, 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 blah. Remember, never underestimate Donald Trump's ability to fuck up a free lunch. And he didn't get smarter. His stupid ideas are not getting smart just because he won again. And some shit's going to hit the fan. It's not going to be good for a lot of people. He's going to do a lot of damage. But the people that are relying on him to, like, kick ass and America's golden age and all that shit, it ain't happening. It is not happening. And this didn't take any time at all. First Lady Melania and Argentine President Javier Milei promoted LibreCoin, possibly masterminded by the same team, allege on-chain detectives. They know this. Blockchain and analytics platform Bubble Maps on Sunday alleged a potential link between the teams behind the official Melania crypto meme coin and Argentine President Javier Milei promoted Libra token, providing evidence of insider trading and manipulation. Doesn't that give you a faith in meme coins and crypto? Now, don't get me wrong. There are a bunch of Trump suck-ups that think meme coins are a way to make money. You just jump in early and the suckers will chase it because everybody wants, like, if they can dump a little bit of money all over the world in, a penny stock that suddenly goes magic as a coin, if that takes off and becomes a real currency and you were on the bottom floor of it, you'll get this. So there's what you're seeing is of the 8 billion people on Earth, there's about a half a billion people who are throwing $100 here and $200 there and $500 there into these meme coins and things in case they take off as a legit secondary crypto or are used for something. So you'll always be able to milk a certain number of those people even when they know they're being ripped off. After DDL has done partnership on chain detectives, Stephen Van Dyson, better known as CoffeeZilla, Bubble Maps featured highly confident that the creators of the two coins might be the same. I think he actually had him on there. I think CoffeeZilla interviewed this dude, that dude. What was the guy's name? Turd Ferguson? No. Yeah, Hayden. What's his? Oh yeah, here you go. This is Bubble Maps, isn't it? Hayden admits he's part of Melania's.
No, this is a bit of a sensitive topic, but I have to ask because this is part of what my story is about. A lot of people have linked you to the Melania launch, and that is a big question on everyone's mind, mine especially, which is, were you part of the Melania launch, and was that sniped as well?
I mean, look, I think that I told you like beforehand before this started. I'm happy to share the truth, but you're asking a question that's it's just I'll answer, but it's factually going to put me into a lot of danger, which is fine. I'll answer. I was part of it. I think the team did want to snipe it because of how big the snipe was on Trump's.
Did you hear that? The team, Melania's team, wanted to snipe the coin, meaning do insider trading on it. Not only do you get to keep some because you've designed the coin, so you get to keep however many you want. You only allow, let's say there are 100 coins, you keep 60 of them, and you only let 4 of them out into the wilderness for people to buy and sell, and you always own more than anybody else does. So if it does become something, you're just rich beyond rich. That's how Trump made a bunch of money on his meme coin. Not only did they do that, but they also, their team sniped a bunch of them to artificially drive the price up and to buy some in early themselves. So they would be able to make money on it as it rose. And then sell them in the process. Listen to this.
To snipe it because of how big the snipe was on Trump's.
Yeah. There's a reason why he's got that look on his fucking face. Trump's people engaged in insider trading on a massive scale, billions of dollars on his fucking meme coin. And by the way, I don't care. Fuck him. I mean, the people who bought him are assholes. The people who are selling him are assholes. If he makes money by flim-flamming maggots, I don't care. But that's enormous. And it's worthless. It's fucking worthless. And he did it right before he was sworn in. So it technically happened in that window where he was president-elect, but he wasn't president yet. And yeah, he's not jailed for it because nobody, the crime, is baked in. and only a few people know, including this dude who was in on the sniping of stuff, the insider trading on Melania's coin that was coordinated with the very same people and the same activity to make money that Trump did.
And we weren't the we definitely weren't the big sniper.
So what he's saying is on Melania's coin, the team that was involved and his people, his own guys, sniped the coin. They knew when it was going to come. They early bought it. They got in before other people had the ability to buy, so that they could they could get ahead of everyone else and make more money. And that Melania's team was also sniping her people who designed it for her or were working with her or somebody on her behalf. And in theory, what he means by that is that Trump's team was in on it as well. That the vast majority of the people by sniping in this situation is somebody. It's like what's the closest most people experience? It's like somebody who sits on eBay. Remember when you used to get somebody who would like outbid you on eBay by just like hitting a button over and over again, or they'd set up an algorithm where they could it would just up it by 20 cents no matter what anybody did, and they would snipe you, right? That's where this comes from. And the idea is that they have an unfair advantage on a couple of fronts. One is they know the exact second of launch. They know the exact second of launch, and they know what the initial price is going to be. So they have the investment point ready to go. So they know exactly how many they're going to get in the beginning, and they can set up software to auto buy on their behalf. Right. So, yeah, just thought I'd share that with you. That and again, this is maggot on maggot crime, so I kind of don't care if they want to let Trump fuck them out of their life savings. I don't care. The only really concerning part with any of these meme coin things in terms of Trump's meme coin and possibly Melania's, depending on how much control she has over it. If it's her exit plan, I kind of don't care. She's an awful person, but maybe she becomes unawful once she's out from under his control at some point. But my biggest concern is that it's not meant to be a real meme coin. It's just a housing vehicle for bribes. Right? Like I said, all somebody has to do is come up to you and go, show you their crypto wallet, and they get entrance into Mar-a-Lago. You know what I mean? Can I see your invitation? I own 30 million Trump meme coins. Right this way, sir. I'll take you to your usual table. Right? Meanwhile, the desperate attempt to pave over this in Trump world, especially by people who I don't think even quite grasp. I know they wouldn't understand what I'm talking about. Like, I could sit down almost, and I think it's been a pretty brainy day. And I if you guys need a nap after today's shows, I completely understand, because we've dealt with like quantum cryptography and the concept of isness as a state, and what else? And robotics, and cryptocurrency, and sniping / insider trading on us. It's a lot. So I get it, but I feel like I'm pretty good at explaining these things. I feel like that you guys have been able to, at least today, grab the analogies I'm talking about. Okay. She has no idea. There's no fucking way. If I sat down across from her and explained this to Carrie Lake, there's just no way. It just seeds on sand. I guarantee it. But here's the thing. Neither would Musk. Musk only needs to know as much as he needs to make money on the thing. But if you broke it down to him, he would pretend to know what it means. But he wouldn't. How were you good in science in school? Yes, I was. Don't I look like a scientist? I mean, come on. Shouldn't this be what scientists look like? All right, so let's check this out. Carrie Lake reacts to uncool liberal outrage over Elon Musk. So apparently, what we were upset with is not the fact that under the guise of efficiency, this asshat is was how hard it was to get a filter into their camera. Her sales point is that we're all upset because he looks so cool and we can't deal, or that we don't like that he's trying for government efficiency. None of us give a shit if he cuts waste, fraud, and abuse. Nobody has a problem with that. Never have. Nobody does. If it's waste and it's fraud and it's abuse, everybody's for getting rid of it. Now, when you consider something that's worthwhile waste, like school lunches and shit like that, then that's where it becomes political. But if you're legitimately talking about waste, fraud, and abuse, nobody has a fucking problem with that. Nobody. What we have a problem with is that somebody under the guise of getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse suddenly has access to the entire payment structure of the Treasury and everybody's social security numbers and everybody's fucking bank account records from the inside. That's what we care about. I don't give a fuck. If they're able to cut some stuff that meaningfully shifts the budget, every administration does something along those lines. Nobody fucking cares. Nobody cares. And here's the thing. That's supposed to be Congress's job. The fact that there has to be Republicans, do you have any idea how fucking stupid you sound when you're like, we're going to have a Doge committee? That's what oversight is. They're all supposed to be that. You're supposed to refine the programs, go over the costs and benefit analysis of them on a regular basis as you do the budget. It's your fucking job every fucking time. So the idea that you're going to just magically have one all of a sudden, when you were supposed to be doing it all along. You don't sound smart for saying we're going to have a Doge committee. You don't. How are they really going to kill Social Security? No. They're going to try. They're going to undercut it, but no. And by the way, as soon as they go near it, that it is a political third rail, and you can only hope that some of them will be stupid enough to really try. We should be so lucky that they actually try. So, she thinks we're jealous of how rich Elon Musk is, as if any of us would trade our physical person for his in any circumstance. And that we don't like that he's going after the waste, fraud, abuse because it exposes the deep state spending your tax dollars, whatever. This is all political blather. This is just politics. This is political speak. I don't want to hear any outsider, well, we're not Washington. It's the same shit people say when they go to Washington every fucking time. I'm going to clean up Washington. There have been guys in the fucking 30s who are walking around carrying a fucking broom during their campaign, right? How many times have we heard about all the pork in Washington? We're going to cut all the pork out of the budget and all this stuff. Same shit. This is the same fucking conversation. There's nothing new about this at all. The only thing new in any of this shit, thank you, Jen. The only thing new in any of this shit is that these people are too stupid to understand that he's bringing hackers into these sensitive areas. That's it. And it's the only problem I really have with this, beyond the generalized political differences that I have with these fuckwads. Because a lot of what they're cutting, they're not cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. They're just cutting shit they disagree with, which every administration is allowed to do and often does. Nobody cares. I don't fucking care. Nobody cares. And the sooner people say that, the better. Every Democrat talking about this, hear me now and listen to me later. And I know you watch. I know you guys watch. In the Capitol, I know there are staffers that watch. I know there are people all throughout government that watch my show. Hi, I love you. I see you. I appreciate you. I thank you for passing this. Let me tell you something, Democrats in the House. The only message that matters right now is we're here to cut waste, fraud, and abuse. That's what oversight committees are for. We're always here doing our job. It's just not sexy. It's just the work of being in government. Our concern is you've given a bunch of hackers access to sensitive private data of Americans. And none of them will sit for an interview, and none of them will sit under oath. And we're just supposed to, he set up, Doge is the office of trust me, bro. No, I don't trust him. The American people shouldn't trust him. If they don't trust me and I take an oath to protect the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, when I take my oath of office, and if they don't trust me, why the hell would they trust somebody in God knows where, walking into the fucking treasury with a laptop? What are they walking out with? And it's not reassuring that they work for free or that they're just doing it because they love America. Bullshit. Bank robbers don't get a salary. All bank robberies work for a piece of the take. But up to that point, they're not fucking communists. It's not a group sharing effort. They're not sitting around a fucking talking drum discussing what it means to be a man, you fucking moron. Bank robbers always work on spec. These guys are working on spec. It is not about what you're going to pay them. It's the value of what they are walking out with. That's the only conversation Democrats need to have about the Doge guys. Primary point. Cutting waste, fraud, and abuse, that's what we do here in the Congress. That's what we're supposed to do. We're doing it right now. We do it every time. It just doesn't make the news because who watches C-SPAN? Nobody's worried about that. Nobody is worried about waste, fraud, and abuse being cut. What we're worried about is unelected, unnamed, invisible hackers walking in and out of our sensitive areas with laptops and thumb drives and fucking, hard drives in their jacket pocket. Hackers work on spec. That's it. And if we don't have a standard to make sure that they're not stealing private information, here's the thing. Even Elon Musk doesn't know. He may have a don't ask, don't tell policy. Elon Musk may very well have a kind of like, hey, whatever you guys get, don't tell me what it is. I don't need to know. I need plausible deniability. He has a plausible deniability scheme. Because his contracts with the federal government and his protection of those things are worth enough money, he doesn't necessarily need to milk anymore. And believe me, he'll have access to that shit later, after the smoke clears. But let's say one of those guys just decides to go fucking full Snowden. Just grab all the details they can and give it to China and Russia, like the original Snowden did. It's funny that he doesn't go to a fucking whistleblower in England at The Guardian or something like that. It's funny that he doesn't, turn himself in and go, it's important for the people to know this. Put me in jail. I stand by what I do. No, he fucks off to China, and then Glenn Greenwald and those dickheads get him a one-way ticket to fucking Russia. It's always Russia. Isn't it funny? It's always fucking Russia, isn't it? So anyways, what's this dipshit saying about how apparently because I pointed out that Elon Musk is a gacked out twerp who's way in over his head and has a sociopathic view of the impact on actual human lives in his ridiculous little hobby of playing president, that somehow he's cooler than I am. Yeah. All right. Let's see how this. Here you go. You know what? Let me set myself up so she can. There you go. How about this? Cool enough for you? Is that cool enough for you, Carrie Lake? Carrie Lake is up your butt. She's in your camera filter blur.
Was when he said this whole resistance and the left, that just everything seems so crazy. He said it's fake.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that now. It's propped up by the government and the NGOs funneling money to these fake protests, these rent-a-mobs.
No. Also, by the way, the Russians were doing a ton of that stuff, but we have no one looking into that anymore because they cut that. It's interesting. And you'd assume that because money went to Politico, as if Politico was the jumping off point for Black Lives Matter protests.
And he knows more than us because he's even seen more than us. And
Why would that be? Why would he? Trump wants you to be in charge of Voice of America. Why has he seen more than you? Here's the thing. He's seen more than Trump. That doesn't strike you as weird?
I think we need to remember that. This is not a country that's torn apart 50-50. The vast majority.
I didn't realize it was Rob Shit interviewing her. So he gets, like, good Lord, he gets to interview every dipshit at this thing.
Are for turning things around.
Okay, so Rob Shit is clearly, they're grooming him to move to Fox. That's what's happening. It won't be long. Rob Shit's going to get poached to Fox. He's going to replace Hegseth first. Yeah. Oh, but the audio is low on that? Okay, let me kick it up a little bit.
Common sense, cutting down the waste in government, and restoring our liberties and freedom.
Yeah.
No. Okay. There's no restoring liberty and freedom when you're accessing everyone's private data. I mean, explain to me the difference between the Doge assholes and Elon Musk getting to look at our private information and Chinese surveillance. Oh, wait. It's a fucking difference. Elements of the Chinese Communist Party, knowing what everybody spends their money on, where they go, facial recognition software, all that kind of shit, right? What's the difference between that and the Doge guys getting to look at all of our private information? From a liberty standpoint, from a freedom standpoint, where are our rights protected in that? I mean, beyond the violation of our Fourth Amendment rights, because you are seizing our private data without a warrant in that situation. If you walk out with it, it's identity theft. Trump can't go to jail for it because he as the president can order it. But if you carry out an illegal order or you do something that's illegal, as a contractor, for example, you can go to jail for that shit. You think Trump's going to come to your rescue? Maybe he'll pardon Elon, but any of the Doge guys, you don't think he would just throw a couple of those dickheads to the wolves?
It's just like we always talked about this, especially during COVID when we had George Floyd. We had, you wonder, like,
when Trump was president, you mean?
How did these protests just occur? And
Gee, it's almost like a bunch of people gave a shit all at once. I don't know, man. I mean, maybe nobody had really seen a guy suffocate over the course of 9 minutes before. You know what I mean? And again, not fighting back, totally never even armed before. They didn't disarm him, none of that shit. On the ground, sitting on him as his life left his body. Maybe that's why. They just kind of, where do they fucking people get this idea? Who knows? I mean, that may be fucking in the shit household. That might be his idea of, Friday night entertainment.
You could just tell that there was money being just pumped into it to create this outrage.
Yeah.
Well, part of it was Russian money. Yeah. Absolutely. Ginned up everywhere they could. Both sides of the issue. So, by the way, Trump could use what seemingly was left-wing violence as a way to ride back into office. I'm going to clean this stuff up. The Democrats will let this stuff go on. I'll stop it. It's the same thing with the fucking people coming to the border. Right-wingers, Russians, paying for people to fly to Argentina and Venezuela and then make their way to the United States. And Donald Trump gives a pause to anybody from Venezuela who entered the country during the last year of his presidency, so they can't be deported for a year and a half, even though he knows Russia's been feeding them through everywhere else. When he says they're dumping everybody from their prisons and their jails and all that kind of stuff, that was the fucking plan. He was in on the game.
Create this destabilization of this country that we saw in 2020, because they wanted to feel like.
Yeah, it was who was paying all this money to get all these assholes to show up at the ellipse and attack the Capitol? They wanted our democracy to fall. They wanted somebody to take a shit in the rotunda and wave around a Confederate flag and steal a laptop from Nancy Pelosi's office and try to sell it to the fucking Russians. Clearly, all that big left-wing money was behind it.
This country was just tearing itself apart over this. It really wasn't.
And
There was
it
just a
didn't
lot
make
of money making it.
sense.
It didn't make any sense at all.
We started with right after President Trump's inauguration, the pink hats. Remember all of that? And they
Right, and they turned out to be right. The pink hats, the women who were the Women's March around this pussy-grabbing, adjudicated rapist becoming president, and their concerns about a dude who was friends with Jeffrey Epstein for a quarter century becoming president would be a negative, a net negative for women's rights. And what do you fucking know? He stacks the court with people who get rid of Roe v. Wade. They were right, dipshit. They were right. The pussy hat women were exactly right.
had a ton of money going toward it. They were tipping cars, setting businesses on fire.
Yeah, no. The pussy hat women were not setting businesses on fire and tipping cars. Not a one. Nobody in a knit vagina cap was turning over cars, you fucking weirdo. No. Not at all. I would have gone to that rally because when women get that rowdy, they have needs. Sorry.
Cop cars on fire. Then it moved into the BLM and the Antifa. And, you know, they changed the name, but they had so much money behind it. We were wondering, where are they getting this money?
What money? How expensive what do you think this shit costs? What money? Look, there were definitely schemes to organize people online and gin up, discontent and all that kind of stuff. But the people who fucking showed up, it doesn't cost that much to walk out of your fucking front door and march down the street and take whatever liquor or kerosene you have in the house and make a Molotov cocktail. That's the problem with it. It doesn't cost anything. Stupid. That's why Trump's argument about October 7th doesn't mean anything. Iran didn't have any money for October 7th. You don't need any money for October 7th, you dumb motherfucker. These people were pulling up water pipes that our tax dollars paid for and turning them into rockets. Dumb bombs. And the only reason they didn't kill lots of civilians every time they fired them was because of the Iron Dome. If it hadn't been there, the death toll in Israel, even during the Trump presidency, would have been in the tens of thousands.
And now in the past couple of weeks, we found out where they're getting it. USAID. Yeah. And wait until we get to the Department of Defense. Wait until we get to these other...
No. Look, okay, first of all, USAID was not paying for riots. Shut the fuck up. That's not what you found. It's not what you're gonna find. You're out of your goddamn mind. When they're funding DEI training, that is not code word for let's get the black people all upset about the dead black guy and make them burn down Minnesota. You fucking putz. Good Lord. That's not what you found out. Don't pretend you found out. And look, he actually agrees with her. I mean, here's in his defense, he agrees that every Republican that comes on and everything they say, he's just astounded that everybody doesn't know what he's just heard for the first time. Ugh. You're not going to get to the fucking Department of Defense and find out that Milley was funding BLM riots to keep Joe Biden in power or some nonsense. What the fuck? Hashtag Rip Portland.
Departments. I think we've just scratched the surface.
Yeah.
You think? You've just scratched the surface. Now, what does that statement mean? What that statement means is we have a $27 trillion economy, $36 trillion in debt, and we have a $7 trillion federal budget with a $2 trillion deficit post-COVID for a lot of reasons. And in all those ginormous numbers, almost $6 trillion that the U.S. government pays out every year, that it actually doles out, they've discovered about $80 billion in stuff they don't like and they politically disagree with. That's not waste, fraud, and abuse. That's just a political difference. That's just partisan bullshit, and that's why it's just scratching the surface. It's a fucking hangnail. Don't give me this shit that you're going to fix the federal budget, which is a crisis. And it's criminal that we allow this to go on. And when the government should be turning a profit, we should run it like a business. Summer and I were talking earlier, and she was like, she gets so upset, as do I, at the idea that, like, it's when they're, we should run it like a business, not a business, it's a service. You're paying for that service, and the management of that service is what saving money is about, not about stopping the service. And it is the legal responsibility of the government to provide that service first over the fiscal safety of the country. If you got to fight a war and you got to do fucking war bonds to do it, and you've got to, you have to have a draft, you know what I mean? Like, that supersedes whether or not the company's going to be in the black that year, you fucking tool.
I think so, too.
You don't think at all, Rob. Rob, if you thought at all, you wouldn't only hang out in places where people agree with you. Honestly, do these assholes go outside except for CPAC? And to, like, I don't know, fucking duck hunting trips in Cheney Land?
I want to play this. Elon Musk on being vilified, you know, as somebody that's been so popular for such a long time in this.
No. He has an inflated sense of self-worth based on an illusion, based on a character. He is the Donald Trump of technology. His name's on the book, but he didn't write it. His name's on the company, but he didn't invent the product the company does. And he had enough money from his parents to have a fuck you cushion to allow himself to give the illusion of being competent for a long time. She does remind you of a chicken scratching Vincent.
Country, nonpartisan for most of his life, even leaning left. Now he's.
You don't end up with 13 kids and a fixation on procreating after you come from South Africa. If you lean left. What he did was he took advantage of the power structure at the time, which was the Obama administration was ascendant, and he benefited from the federal funds that were going to support electric cars at the time. So he bullshitted in the right circles. Here's the problem you have, Rob Shit. Here's the problem you have, Scary Lake. Both of you have a really big issue. Is he bullshitting you now? You don't know. Is he just telling you what you want to hear so he can get in the door and get access to all the stuff that the federal government has because it's worked? And you guys are letting it happen. I don't think, I'm telling you, there's not a single Democrat that I know of that if there was a story where George Soros was asked by, or fucking Mark Cuban for that reason, let's just pick somebody who's likable. If Biden said, I'm going to ask Mark Cuban to bring in a bunch of guys. He's going to hire a bunch of programmers. You don't need to know their names, but they're young guys. He's going to bring them into all of our governmental agencies and review them and report back to me secretly. And they'll announce stuff that, if there's stuff in there for, promoting shooting in Wisconsin, if they have gun clubs that get federal funding because they get ammo at half price for practicing because it leads to people joining the military. There's a lot of those all over the country. We're gonna cut that. That's waste. That's fraud. That's abuse. I don't know a single fucking Democrat that would go, that's brilliant. Finally, we're getting somebody from the outside to take a look at things, a good businessman, somebody we trust, and he's gonna bring in some unknown fucking people and let them roam around. Maybe Chink, but yeah. Well, no. Chink would bitch about it and then cozy up to whoever that person was.
MAGA and how hard it's been being vilified by the media this way. Take a look.
Aww.
Listen.
What's it like from going neutral to being vilified? Largely vilified by the media. Like you're...
What?
No.
Sarcasm. It's what idiots have instead of a sense of humor.
I mean, you turn on some of these channels, brother. I mean, they don't.
By the way, listen to his voice and his cough. He's smoking a lot. He talked a lot about how he would like play video games and smoke weed while his company did stuff, and then he really only showed up for meetings to play, billionaire genius, to pretend. But the rest of his day he spent just hanging around his house, smoking weed and playing video games as a rich dickhead. And these companies are just investments. He doesn't actually have an active role in what they can accomplish. He just wrangles up federal funding to support it and drives this whole government can't do anything right. We need private industry to do things. That whole push. That's why he's a Republican now. Because in the beginning, it was the Obama bailout that made Tesla exist, and it's the outsourcing. Yes, it's weed. It's not vaping. It's weed. And he might, I don't know if he smokes anything else, but listen to his throat. Like you could tell
They're angry. Does it bother you at all? Does it get to you? Yeah.
When they're chanting for my death, I suppose that's a little,
Not good.
But then the song's not even that good, and it's like you call that a death chant? That's nothing. Please.
hilarious. I don't know what he's referring to. Does anybody know? Is there a specific thing other than people just going, fuck that guy? Because it sounds made up. Yeah. Yeah, it's also why he's wearing glasses. Yeah, he's high as a fucking kite. Yeah, sunglasses indoors. Republicans used to mock people like that.
And the leftists are now selling their Teslas in protest. Sheryl Crow selling her Tesla last week. It's like, oh, you've got to be kidding me.
And how about...
No, there's a lot of actually great electric cars out there and with a better safety record than Teslas now, you know. And also the Tesla cars, like the one she has, it was in large part made in China, Carrie. That's the rough part. The vast, you know, the majority of the construction, the parts themselves, made in China, the electronics, the battery, everything made in China, then shipped over and basically just slapped together in California to avoid tariffs and basically to live up to the standard that the bailout money set for him, that it has to be made in the United States and all that kind of stuff. Oh, he's totally tweaking, Marshall.
All these songs. I mean, have you heard the singing? The worst songs I've ever heard. They get together and they sing the stupidest song you've ever heard.
No, we haven't. Sing it. Hum a few bars.
Protest. To protest what? We're trying to find waste in the government? Is there?
Yeah, that's not what they're worried about, asshole. This is exactly what I was talking about. The answer to this is, what, you don't like us trying to find waste? No, I don't believe you're trying to find waste. That's what the Congress is supposed to be doing. They have apparently abdicated their ability to a bunch of unelected asshole hackers who you are allowing to carry laptops and thumb drives and all kinds of and hard drives into the Treasury and into places, into sensitive areas. They haven't sworn an oath. They couldn't pass an FBI background check, even if you were going to bother to fucking give them one. I don't want to hear shit about waste, fraud, and abuse. No one has a problem with looking for waste, fraud, and abuse. As a matter of fact, the majority of the things they have brought up, Rand Paul has been on the House floor, prick that he is. Let me show you. Hold on. Rand Paul, I don't know, remarks. Here you go.
The Republican Party.
Yeah, the Republican Party. Okay. You want to see what's really going on? Right now. Rob shit. Scary Lake. Come here. They have bragged recently that they have cut $55 billion of waste, fraud, and abuse already, and they're just scratching the surface. I went through yesterday and showed you by the numbers that those are fake numbers. They're ballooned. Most of them they canceled a contract that was going to end this year anyways, you know, at the end of this year, and they're going to pretend it would have gone on for 5 more years, and they want the savings from the 5 years that contract never would have gone through. And they take stuff from every presidency, they do things, they expend, they have like a window of spending that the House and the Senate give the administration for their priorities. Here's how much everything needs to be paid for. And all the discretionary spending is at the effect of the presidency. And most of it ends up being, you know, like in a gray area of discretionary and necessary, right? And so most presidents don't touch a huge chunk of it because it is, you'll start stepping on toes because it's spread so evenly. Because unlike Trump, a lot of the presidents, Republican and Democrat, over the last few decades have tried to at least throw a bone to people who didn't vote for them to try and, you know, grow their constituency for, you know, their party after they leave office. Okay. So, but this $55 billion number is it's fake and it ain't shit. And well, let's just check in with the dipshit, squirrel-headed carpetbagger from my home state of Kentucky, Rand Paul, named after Ayn Rand, a woman who wrote Atlas Shrugged and said charity was a weakness, and that people who believed in Christ or religious people were, in her words, mentally retarded. She was on Social Security when she died, and she lied on her Social Security forms and said her boyfriend, who lived with her at the time, who was an old man too, was her husband, so he would get SSI, and they both lived off the government tit in their final days, and they would have been eating cat food had she not, because she was so great an author that she signed a shit deal on publication of her books, and they basically became publicly owned, right? Okay, check this. Yeah, the numbers I dig in don't lie. You're right, Jen. I went through this. Okay. Alexa, by the way, I agree. Alexa Gibson in the chat says he is awful. I agree. He's awful. But you know who he's more awful to right now than us? Listen to this. This is him talking to his Republican friends across the aisle. Now, Rand Paul puts out this list of bad spending every year to prove why he's like the one person who doesn't vote for anything because we can't afford any of this. And so he has a list of all these like transgender comic books and studying, you know, the effects of lead water on squirrels and shit like that. Like he always lists that because what he does is he takes any grant given to a college and any university or college that does a study on something in its department, he can say that's taxpayer dollars paying for it, even if it's not the direct money. The government didn't pay for that directly. It just gave money to the school to help the school and the science department because they do a lot of things. And one of the studies done was this. So let's say if $40 million comes in, 20 of it was from the government, and it couldn't be that study was done with the other $20 million that came from an annuity or a fucking alumni. It had to come from the U.S. It's amazing. The half of the money that comes into the school from the U.S. government pays for all of the studies, and specifically the ones you don't like. So he writes about that shit. So all the stuff that Musk is finding is the majority of it, especially the more extreme things, is stuff he's been bitching about forever. It's not new. They're not discovering anything. So if they're in there and they're, you know, going through the books and they're only coming up with shit that's on usaspending.gov and you can look at it already, or it's available to the Senate and the House committees in their oversight, why do you even need to go to these fucking buildings? Why don't you go meet with the Appropriations Committee and the elected representatives that have access to this stuff and go through it with them? I'll tell you why. Because it isn't about actually saving money. It's theft. It's a heist. It's a heist. That's all. Hashtag it's a heist. Elon Musk and his Doge is a heist. I'm fine. I'm all right. The sooner people know that, the better. That's why they're working for free. All bank robbers work on spec. Doge, hashtag it's a heist. Okay, check this out.
Not what they appear to be. If you follow the news, you've been seeing reports of Elon Musk and Doge and getting rid of waste and fraud and abuse by the billions, if not trillions of dollars. And yet we are meeting here today, though, because Congress, namely the Senate, wants to increase federal spending.
Yeah. The new budget that the Republicans want to pass through They want to split it into 2 bills. So they want to add stuff, Trump's border funding and all this stuff, to the first half of the, they want to split it into 2 bills, send one of them down to the House, and make the House have to pass the stuff that's necessary, because with it is the border spending. And they're adding all that to it. And then the second part is non-discretionary, budgetary, must-pass stuff, like DOD stuff. And, sorry, I'll lift this. And they have added somewhere in the order of $340 billion to Biden's budget from last year. So $350 billion more than Biden's budget last year. $350 billion more.
So on the one hand, you have Elon Musk and Doge and the Democrats complaining to high heaven, he's cutting too much, they're cutting too much.
Yeah, that's not what we're complaining about, fuckwad. We're not cutting. The problem isn't he's cutting too much. He's cutting, he's using a hacksaw where a scalpel is necessary. He's cutting blindly, abstractly. He's cutting politically. And it's going to harm people, farmers, poor people, children. That's what we care about. It's not the too much. It's that they're not even looking. It's like, what, you guys don't like the way I drive? No, you're driving through a playground. I don't care. You're like, 55 is the speed limit on the, on the freeway, and I think we should be able to do 70. Fine. You're in a park.
And Senate Republicans are coming forward today to pass a budget to allow them to raise federal spending. What gives?
What gives is, it's a flim-flam, you dumb motherfucker. It's a show. Even the cuts they're making aren't so they can cut and give back to people. He's not gonna. You think the fucking Republicans are gonna pass a $5,000 Doge dividend, where we're gonna give $5,000 back to the American people? You think that's gonna happen? You think you're gonna pay for that with revenue? You think you're also gonna pass your fucking tax cut while giving people $5,000? Are you out of your fucking mind? By the way, enjoy this.
Are Republicans for getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse and reducing the deficit, balancing the budget, as the president says? Or are they really for increasing spending $340 billion?
The thing that they want to pass, that they expect to pass in the House, and they want Trump to sign, and he will. Don't tell me what he wants. Trump will sign this, you dumb motherfucker. It's not his money. He doesn't care. By the time maggots wake up to it, he thinks it'll be over. It'll be too late. The only way he wouldn't sign this, and he would veto it if it comes through. And by the way, you guys have the House and the Senate. The only reason he wouldn't sign this is because somebody tells him, if you sign this, then you'll never be able to get your tax cut passed. You won't be able to make that permanent. It's the only reason.
The budget that we will vote on will allow increased spending in the military by $150 billion, increased spending for the border, $175 billion, $20 billion for the Coast Guard. It adds up to about $340 billion.
There you go. Look, I was pretty close. I got it right the first time. $340 billion. What's the Coast Guard stuff? Fentanyl. Remember, he wants a Navy declaration of war against the cartels, and he wants the Coast Guard to be better armed in fighting the cartels, because they assume that as the border is closed, they're going to do more to send boats around and all that kind of stuff. So he wants more money for the Coast Guard, and he wants a ship named after himself. The military spending, he's going to spend all that on the border wall. He's going to spend all that. He's got to do an overage. He's got to take everything we need for the actual military, and he wants the extra added on there so that he can pay for the wall with those funds. And then the border security, I guess, is permanent forever. So that never goes away. Those guards, they're gonna be there forever. It's like fucking Jack Nicholson in Cuba. You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall. That's what's gonna happen.
Well, if we were fiscally prudent, if we were fiscally conservative, Why wouldn't we take the savings from Elon Musk and Doge and move it over here and help with the border?
Well, because you need $340 billion for the stuff you want to do, and they're only finding about $2 to $6 billion in discretionary cuts, which you do anyways. He's about to describe a process, by the way, that the House and the Senate do all the time when a new president comes in, when they shift costs around. And they add it onto bills constantly, or they'll bring something to the floor. Whichever party has the House and the Senate can pass these kind of things, and you don't hear about it because a lot of times it has to do with the money shuffle. And since there's no savings from it, it's just moving it from one old priority to a new priority. They don't really talk about it that much.
Why would we be doing a brand new bill to increase spending by $340 billion? That's because the Senate is acting as it always has. The Senate hasn't gotten the message. President Trump came to town, a new way of thinking. They're shuttering agencies, they're shutting people down, they're finding things like $2 million spent in Guatemala for sex changes.
Okay. Now, I would citation needed on the $2 million for Guatemalan sex changes. But when you're talking about $340 billion, you need to do all these things: the border, the military, and the Coast Guard. And you think you're going to fill that gap of $340 billion with the $3 billion worth of actual priority shifting savings that you're going to get from fucking Doge. The fuck are you bringing up $2 million for, asshole? For real. Where's that come from? Why is that gonna matter? Imagine this. And again, the scope of this, everybody thinks you don't care about like large volumes of money because you bring up the priority aspects of this. I'm not bringing this up because $2 million isn't a lot of money and that priorities of administration change and you should be able to move those things around. That's not why I'm bringing it up. The way I'm bringing it up is that this asshole is using this as a dodge. Bringing up $2 million for Guatemalan sex changes as if it fucking charts. It's like you and I sitting down and I'm going to sell you a house and we're signing the deed over and you've got your deposit check for this and we've worked on points of how much the house is going to cost and it's a $5 million house and you've got your 20% plus you've got insurance and you filled out all these forms or whatever, and I want to argue about a nickel I found in the driveway. Or a quarter, here you go. We are not moving forward with the sale of this house, and I'm not going to trust this sale, and I'm not going to give you the deal in this house until you and I work out who dropped this quarter in the driveway. Whose quarter is this? And don't cheat. Don't just say yours. What's the date on it? What's the date on the quarter? That's what's happening here. This motherfucker is coming down on the floor and going, this quarter, the ownership of it, the expenditure of it, or the waste of this quarter allows me to grind to a halt the $5 million deal we're all dealing with right here. And until I get my answer, we don't move forward. It's bullshit. It's meaningless. Here's what you should do with that quarter. If you have a jar of priorities and you're like, I don't like that priority, you take that quarter out of that priority jar and you put it in the other priority jar because that is your ability in an administration. You're allowed to do that. Shut up and do it. We know you don't like trans people. We know you don't like gay people. We know you think that if you just fucking close your eyes, they'll cease to exist. And you got your bigoted panic that everybody calls a phobia, which I do not believe it is. I don't think you're scared. I think you're an asshole. I don't think bigots have a disease. I think they're pricks. That's another conversation. It doesn't fucking chart when you're talking about $7 trillion as a budget and $2 trillion in deficit spending. It's fucking embarrassing. If you're bringing up something this small, what it means is you don't have the guts or the ability to cut the big stuff. You're hiding behind this fucking quarter. That's what you're doing. It's cowardice. You wouldn't be embarrassed to bring up a $23,000 grant to somebody who made a comic book in a South American country that they did through USAID as part of a broader scheme to reach out to, that isn't in a $7 trillion budget with a $1 trillion deficit. You have the fucking nerve to bring up $23,000 and not because you don't have the right to move that around or complain about that cost, but you're going to spend time on the fucking floor of the Senate drawing our attention to it and claiming fiscal conservatism on your part when all you can fucking bring up is a $23,000 fucking comic book and $2 million worth of sex changes that you can't even prove happened. It's fucking embarrassing. Any of these motherfuckers, I don't want to hear anything about cuts they're making less than $10 billion of genuine cuts. If you're going to say waste, fraud, and abuse, you better show up with double-digit billions. When you got $1 trillion to clean up, don't waste my fucking time. You're hiding behind chump change to act like you give a fuck. You don't give a fuck. He doesn't give a fuck. This is just a moment where he can share. He's bonding. This whole shit about the Guatemalan sex change thing that he brings up. That isn't him showing his bona fides in terms of the budget or his fiscal conservatism. What he's trying to do in that moment is to bond on bigotry with his fellow Republicans, to let them know he's still on the team. That's what that is. That's not him genuinely showing that he cares about the fucking budget, or he'd be embarrassed to bring up such a small fucking number. It doesn't even stack, you dumb motherfucker. Other than that, I have no opinion.
$3 million spent in Brazil for a girl-centric climate change. $4.8 million spent in Ukraine for social media influencers. While you're at it,
Yeah, no. I mean, I voted against everything. Is that?
But the people who vote for this, I've voted against all of this, but the members of the Senate who vote.
Okay. Here's another one. Why the fuck should I take you seriously? You vote against everything. If you vote against everything, I can write you off. And if you're whipping votes and you know he's a consistent zero, he's never going to vote for it, then you just shift your strategy to talk to the people who are actually on the field. That's like saying, I didn't lose the game. I was on the bench the whole fucking time. I'm always on the bench. If you're committed to always being on the bench, I mean, I'm sure he'll show up in the locker room for the party afterwards and, he'll drink the champagne if the team wins. Why is that a bragging point? I always vote against this. Well, then so what? If you're going to vote against all spending, then you view all spending as singular. So I don't care. I don't even know. Your priorities are just that's it. Which in and of itself is just allowing it to happen. You know this stuff's going to pass, and instead of playing a part of it and getting, all right, I'll vote for this if you guys move this thing, and I'll play part of the game to try and move the priorities in the right direction incrementally like a fucking adult. What does he do? He always sits on the bench. So again, he's not even part of the argument. Why would anybody listen to his priorities? It won't move the ball either way. And he always gets to benefit from, I'm the guy who always says no. Well, shut the fuck up. The rest of us have to say maybe a lot. because life is real. Dude's not even a fucking Kentuckian. He moved there to run for an empty seat. I grew up in Kentucky. He didn't. He's never lived like a fucking Kentuckian. He's rich. He rolled in, bought a rich house, owns a big chunk of property, hangs around only with the elites in the government in Kentucky. This motherfucker didn't move to fucking Pikeville and live in a tract home. He didn't go back to his roots or some shit like that. Yeah, I'm a Kentucky colonel. You're goddamn right. There you go. There you go, you motherfuckers. How about this? I am a colonel. Colonel Sparks. Get that right. That's for real. That's got the governor's signature on it. His hair does look like Davy Crockett's coonskin hat. You know, there's a statue of Daniel Boone he's buried in Frankfurt, and his gravesite has probably one of the greatest statue headstones you've ever seen. It's pretty awesome. Don't, just because I'm showing this asshole castigating Republicans and trying to be like an ethics witch with them, where he's trying to, conjure up some fake image of himself as being a valid member of their constituency. He ain't. He's a fucking coaster at a college, keg party. He's useless.
Voted for this, spent several $100,000 sending designers in Ukraine to the fashion show in Paris. It goes on and on. Thousands of dollars for a trans opera in Colombia.
Yeah, again, this is him. He's talked about this stuff before. He's brought this stuff up. He didn't learn about this shit from Elon Musk. He didn't get this from the Musk files. I was born in Cincinnati because it was the nearest hospital without chickens, but we lived in Kentucky at the time. My mom was visiting my grandmother. She was with my grandmother when she went into labor. I was born in the same room as my mom at the same hospital.
More thousands of dollars for a trans comic book in Peru.
Yeah, $32,000. I don't want to fucking hear it. This is, again, what he's doing is this is a bigotry smokescreen. All of the stuff he's mentioning equals about $8 million. Again, $7 trillion budget, $2 trillion deficit. The Republicans want to add $340 billion to the budget this year. Billion. And this motherfucker is wagging around that somebody gave a grant to somebody else who spent some money on umpteen, whatever, $18 million worth of trans shit he hates. It's a waste of time. You want to talk about a waste of federal funds? How about the waste of time of this asshole taking up space on the floor of the Senate to make these remarks? This is inefficient. It's blather. It does nothing. And effectively, all he's doing, because he's going to vote no on it anyways, even if they give him what he wants, he will vote no. So it's performative.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars spent studying rats to see if lonely rats use more cocaine than well-socialized rats. Guess what? Lonely rats love the cocaine.
Matt Gaetz uses a lot of cocaine at parties. I don't know what the direct correlation is. Also, again, if you give an annuity to a school, what the school spends it on to try to do brain chemistry studies on stimulants and the like has secondary lessons and secondary science that is done on all these things. It's not just about cocaine and lonely rats, you fucking dunce. And nothing, I think nothing is better for scientific discovery than some dipshit dumbing down what's actually done to dissuade people from scientific adventure and study.
You spent hundreds of thousands of dollars of your money on this craziness. Why not take that crazy spending that Doge and Elon Musk are finding and move it over to securing the border?
Because it's not enough. Because it's a lie. That's why. That's why they're not moving it. You know, you're so close to it, you absolute asshole. So, guess what, dickhead? Let's say they do that. Let's say they take the money that these guys are describing. This is money we're clawing back from what was left out there. And we're going to take this money that hasn't gone out the door yet, that isn't owed anything, and we're going to take that money, we're going to direct that money to these things. What do you got to do? Well, you certainly got to take a list of those dollars, the accounts they're in, wherever they're lodged, wherever they are still accounted for in some bank account someplace, and you've got to address their existence, say it really is there, and then you've got to take that money that actually exists, those savings that they're finding, they have to be real, and then you've got to allocate that money that actually exists to someplace else. You starting to understand why they won't do that? Dummy? Starting to understand? Because it's bullshit. There aren't that many savings. Crazy Insane Alien says robbing Peter to pay Rand Paul. It's not even that. They know that Peter doesn't have anything in this situation. Musk's team is full of shit. They're not finding the savings they're talking about. The vast majority of spending under USAID was moved under the State Department and is starting to go back out the door again because they were embarrassed by it. They're just shaving off the DEI stuff and pretending they got rid of the agency. It's all performative bullshit. But that money that he's talking about, why don't you take the savings and move them over here? Because they don't exist, that's why. It's bullshit. Why don't you take my magic shoebox full of cash and hand the magic shoebox full of cash over to the people who need a shoebox full of cash? I don't know, maybe because when they open it up, they're going to realize it's an empty fucking shoebox, dummy. But it says full of cash on it. Musk wrote it there. Trump signed his signature on it. It says box full of cash, and it's not. They can't do the accounting on it, stupid, to make it part of a bill because it would violate the law. They'd have to fabricate money to do it. That's right. It was all bullshit, Joel.
Instead, fiscal conservatives are faced with a bill they're putting forward to just simply increase the spending. I'm all for moving it around. I'm all for saving it from the craziness and pushing it over into something more valuable.
But the problem is, A, there's not that much crazy spending. There is not, and never has been, $340 billion worth of useless spending on trans surgeries and Green New Deal promotional pamphlets. They don't exist. Ugh. Son of a...
There is a procedure for doing this. It's a special procedure, doesn't require any Democrat vote. It can happen through simple majority, and it has a fancy name. It's called rescission.
That's not fancy at all. It's not a fancy name. Le rescission, I think maybe you'd get started. But it should really be, Latin. Should be fancy. And if it is fancy, you'd at least lift your pinky when you say rescission. And if they do it back on itself, where they take the money away from something and they put it back, that's called circumrescission.
So all the administration would have to do is bundle together several $100 billion of savings, which
don't exist.
Appears they're finding.
It appears they're finding?
bundle together several $100 billion of savings, which it appears they're finding.
Oh, yeah? It does? You had a list of maybe, whatever, $14 million worth of savings, but they're finding several $billion that appears to exist? Does it appear? Is that what happens? Is it appearing? Say appears again, motherfucker. It appears, does it? It appears. It appears they're finding this? Huh? Huh? Say appears again, you dumb motherfucker. Say appears again.
Bundle it together in one bill, send it back to us, and by simple majority, without any help from the Democrats.
Yeah, I would agree. That's the best description you could come up with. Simple majority. Bunch of simpletons. Simple motherfuckers.
Republicans can cut spending.
No, they can't. You dumb motherfucker.
Instead, things aren't what they appear to be.
Things are exactly what they appear to be. You appear to be a stupid man with a dead squirrel on his head. Zero lies detected.
You see all this great work being done to cut spending, to cut waste, fraud, and abuse.
No, you don't. You don't see any of it, you dumb motherfucker. They do it behind closed doors. They listed all of it. Everything they found is on that fucking website, and it's all bullshit. Say waste, fraud, and abuse again.
And then you see the Senate acting. We're going to vote all night long to set up a bill to increase spending by $340 billion.
Wait a minute. So you're telling me the Republicans are full of shit? Say it isn't so. My fucking God. And they did, by the way. This was like an all-night session to get this bill passed through, to get this done. And this motherfucker is wasted. Everybody's gone home. He wasn't going to vote for it no matter how it turned out. Do you understand? Why would anybody listen to this stupid motherfucker?
There is a true philosophical debate within the Republican Party and really within both parties about what the biggest threats to our country are. Are the gravest threats to America from within or from without?
I don't know. What are you saying? Okay, we have to make a choice. We either have a military or we have law enforcement. We can't afford both.
I would argue that they're from within.
But he means the Republican Party.
I don't lay awake at night fearing foreign invasion that invade.
Yeah, that's because of the enormity of our military. Also, you know who didn't lie awake worrying about a foreign attack? The people who worked in the Twin Towers, you dumb son of a bitch. That didn't keep them up at night. They're no longer with us.
Are coming to our shores any moment. Doesn't mean we shouldn't be prepared, that we shouldn't defend ourselves, but it does mean that we don't have to have unlimited spending on our military.
Well, you're right. We don't have unlimited spending. We spend a lot, but there's a limit. They actually draft what that limit is. It's in the bill that they passed last night. That would be the limit. You could say that limit goes too far, but it's an actual limit. We don't just blindly print money just to keep pouring it into there. Like they dole it out. They work on stuff. They have the Armed Services Committee looks through the books and stuff like that, and it's very expensive. Yeah, and you can disagree, and you could say we're borrowing too much of that, and we should pay less for it. But it's not unlimited. There's a limit. You just don't like the limit. You think the limit should be lower.
Look,
it's like when these motherfuckers are saying these never-ending wars. First of all, Russia invaded Ukraine in 2014, and then they really invaded, 3 years ago. And these motherfuckers could just leave. That would end it. By the way, we all know that never ending wars is really code for fuck the Palestinians. And look where it got us. Nice job, Uncommitted.
Many of my family have served. Soldiers have to be paid, and we should take care of them. But at the same time, we shouldn't be everywhere around the world all the time. We spent close to $300 billion in Ukraine. We got so...
No, we didn't. No, we didn't. We spent close to $300 billion for Ukraine here. 90% of the money for Ukraine was spent here in the United States. Building tanks here. Javelin missiles here. Missiles here. Weapon systems here. Sending those things over there. We didn't spend that money over there. We spent that money here and we gave it to them over there. You dumb motherfucker. We didn't spend it there. That's why when you had to go looking for money that you were like, what are we spending it on? You found like $4 million for social media because they're having to deal with Russian influence campaigns. And so they're trying to push back on a bunch of different fronts. I got news for you, asshole. The CIA prints leaflets and drops them in places. Shock.
Soldiers all over Africa. We got soldiers in Syria. We got soldiers everywhere. We don't need to be doing that.
Okay. Take it up with the Joint Chiefs. Here's a good idea. Run for president and lose again. Run for president on that. America doesn't need to extend itself into the world. Russia can do it just fine. If we're not there, the Wagner Group will move in, and they're always nice to pregnant women. So we need to leave. Do I have a moment to address the senator, if I may, ladies and gentlemen? Sorry. So what is it? Josh? Thank you so much. Hell, now it's come the time. I have enough money to give you to it. Thank you. Love you too. And I'm glad I made you laugh in public. One day I hope you laugh while watching my show on a bus someplace, like I hope somebody does while they're on their phone with their headphones in and they're laughing really hard. And I want them to look over and see Greg Kelly sitting miserable, wondering, why is this person so happy? It's a dream I have. Can I address the senator here that we have American embassies, we have American business interests all over the globe. And one of the reasons we have the biggest economy on earth is because we protect our interests and those of our partners. And if we relied on the places we were in, we would never be involved in a developing country where we would get a lot of the minerals and oil and gas and stuff that we need, and diamonds and fucking whatever else that we get from these other countries. We just leave those to whoever else because they're not, if they don't have the capacity to protect us at the level we want to be protected, we would just leave. That's brilliant. And so again, this would make sure that we have a way smaller footprint in the world, which is what Putin wants. It's what China wants. It's what Rand Paul wants. His dad's entire campaign exists because Russia funded it, backfilled his bullshit grassroots. They astroturfed his grassroots thing, just like Jill Stein. And what did we get? We got this asshole carpetbagging in Kentucky as a result.
You want to put our military money and spending in perspective? We spend more than the next 9 countries combined. It's not that we're spending too little, we're spending a lot. But if you just...
Right, but does our military just have, say, like standing army shit? No. It includes our satellite system. It includes the protection of our internet cables that go through the fucking ocean. And it also protects our allies, even if Trump doesn't want to, on a scale they would not be able to protect themselves. And if we drop that guard, they're going to get swallowed up. And their resources and their people will be absorbed by the worst human beings on the planet.
Decide that you want more money for the military, take it from the climate change, the girl-centric climate change in Brazil.
Sorry. this motherfucker. The girl-centric climate change in Brazil that he's bitching about. What was that, $3 million? What do you think that gets you in the military budget for the year? What do you think? Was it buy you 4 minutes of spending? 2 minutes? Not even. Well, let's do that then. Cool. Take that money, hand it over to the military. It's gone. The act of doing it on that level, that little money, allocating the quartermaster allocation process because of the size of the U.S. military would eat up that $3 million in just deciding where that $3 million goes. Yeah, it would buy some tires. That's exactly right.
Quit spending your money overseas. Over the years, we've given Egypt nearly $60 billion. Who runs Egypt? A general, where there are no elections. Kind of like Ukraine, where there's a president.
Fuck you. First of all, he was elected recently, right before Russia attacked. And fuck you with your air quotes, asshole. You are not a Kentuckian.
But he doesn't have to run for re-election because he's canceled the elections.
They're under martial law. It's the law of the land, and they're at war. Shut the fuck up. Again, this doesn't even fucking chart. And again, why do we pay Egypt? Beyond the idea that we have, it's one of the countries that surrounds Israel, and it's one of the better. We decided at one point, better carrot than stick. That's what that is. The Egyptian spending is better carrot than stick. Because stick means people die.
Why in the world will we be giving money hand over fist to dictators and people who don't stand for election?
Well, why would we let Russia, that's a dictator that won't stand for elections, attack an allied country? Again, this is all showboating. You'll notice that, like, all of a sudden he wants to roll this stuff back. We have a Lend-Lease program with Ukraine. We will benefit financially from our relationship with a sound Ukraine far more than if Russia is allowed to take it over. So as an investment on the scale of what America pays out, $300 billion ain't dick. And again, 90% of it was spent right here in the country.
Egypt, we gave it to one family, the Mubarak family. When he was finally ousted from power, he had $20 billion on him. Well, it actually wasn't all on him. A lot of it was in Swiss banks and all over the place, but he was worth $20 billion. And that's nothing. Each of his kids were worth another $5 billion.
Yeah, because he's a dictator. But the country itself was why we sent the money. Our relationship with, and again, because we have military bases, we basically lease land from them to stay the fuck away from us.
He basically was able to steal $30 billion of the $60 billion that American taxpayers sent to Egypt.
No. Also, the assumption that that is U.S. taxpayer dollars instead of the money that he makes, that the country has, that he's been stealing from his own people, because it's in U.S. dollars or in gold or other stuff, the idea is that it must have all come from us. This goes to the same thing he says when we give money to a university, we give $20 million to a university, the Alumni Association gives another $20 million. Anything crazy we don't like that happened at that university was paid for with taxpayer dollars, and fuck them. That's the idea. That's his argument for everything.
That's foreign aid. That's a story of your foreign aid.
That's not foreign aid. That's carrot versus stick, militaristic prioritization. It also has a lot to do with the fact that Egypt controls one of the borders on Gaza.
Is you've been being ripped off decade after decade. But while Elon Musk and Doge are doing their job, working overtime till late at night,
citation needed. No. They got in, they got out. Late at night. Bullshit.
Finding us those savings from foreign aid, send them back.
Again, You'll see what I mean. Anyways, point is, he's attacking his fellow Republicans. This is a 20-minute fucking speech on the floor. And he's yelling at Republicans about this stuff. It's kind of spectacular. Here's, hold on.
Come see us on tour.
No. I didn't even know Magoobies was still around. Look at that. So, not only has Jimmy started having Steve Bannon on, by the way, you're watching Hal Sparks Megaworldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up for the show. I'm going to show you something real quick. This is Steve Bannon warns against cutting Medicaid. Let me show you something.
Again, I'll go ahead and cut waste. They say in the Social Security office they found 20 million people who are supposedly over 100 years old.
They didn't. They didn't find 20 million people who are supposedly over 100 years old. There are 90,000 checks going out to people over the age of 100. The general belief is that at any given time there are 85,000 to 90,000 people in this country that are over the age of 100. It tracks. There are situations where people don't have a death certificate because they went missing, or there's still a dispute over their cause of death, or they moved away, and then some people might have the right to their Social Security at some point, so their name is still in the books and it kept track of it till then, but they're not getting checks. And 20 million people are not getting checks. They're not doing it. It's not happening. Not a thing. They're not going to show up. I'm calling it. And feel free to prove me wrong, motherfucker. Please show me the books. And I want it printed, and I want somebody to go through it on C-SPAN, checking it against death certificates for real. I'm not going to just, because they print out a bunch of paper, I'm going to buy it because it's a stack of paper. I want to see the check stubs that went out to 20 million people who are 110 years plus. Tell you what, show me 10. And show me 10 that went out for more than a year. You think that's going to happen? Do you think they're actually going to go, we found 20 million people who are over 140 years old or 110 years old plus? We found them. Did you? Is there a check going out? No. Well, then you didn't find them, did you? What you found was a part of the records where they either were overlooked because they were presumed dead, or they moved away, or whatever, or there was a lawsuit about who should get their SSI for 10 years, and it's been held in probate, and it's in a fucking loop. And so it's frozen in place, or they don't have a direct cause of death, or they didn't get a death certificate filed a long time ago, so it's been sitting empty because it was back when everything was fucking paper records. You didn't find 20 million people who are getting 20 million fucking SSI checks every week that don't exist. Yeah, Social Security never received their death certificate. That's it. But the checks don't keep going out. It's dumb. Find it. And by the way, anybody who doesn't know that that's been a problem with the system, I showed you this before. Hold on. These dumb motherfuckers. I don't even need to see this asshole. Like, it's so lame. Okay. Social Security system death certificates over 120, whatever. Okay. I'll find this second. All right. Yeah, here you go. This is, it doesn't take, and this doesn't even take much. You lazy sons of bitches. Tens of millions of dead people aren't getting Social Security checks despite Trump and Musk claims. The Trump administration is falsely claiming that tens of millions of dead people over 100 years old are receiving Social Security. Okay, no, they're not. It's a huge problem. It is true that improper payments have been made, including some to dead people, but the numbers thrown out by Musk in the White House are overstated. Here's the facts. I don't care what they say. Okay, how big of a problem is okay? July 2024 report from Social Security Inspector General states that from fiscal years 2015 to 2022, the agency paid out almost $8.6 trillion in benefits. $8.6 trillion. including 71.8 billion, or less than 1%, in improper payments. Most of those erroneous payments were overpayments to living people. In addition, in early January, the U.S. Treasury clawed back more than 31 million with an M, in a variety of federal payments, not just Social Security payments, that improperly went to dead people, a recovery that former Treasury official David Lambert said was just the tip of the iceberg. Whether it was or not is a matter of contention. The money was reclaimed as part of a 5-month pilot program after Congress gave the Department of Treasury temporary access to the Social Security Administration's full death master file for 3 years as part of the Omnibus Appropriations Bill in 2021. Thank you, Joe Biden. The SSA maintains the most complete federal database of individuals who have died, and the file contains more than 142 million records, which go back to 1899, according to Treasury. Treasury estimates in January that it would recover more than 250 million during its 3-year access period, which runs from December 2023 through 2026. This is stuff that's already happening. These discoveries and these kind of like savings that they're finding, that they're talking about in this instance, that Doge is pretending to find, is part of a program that was put in place by the Biden administration in 2021. And still, nothing. So are tens of millions of people over 100 years? No. Part of the confusion comes from the Social Security software system based on the COBOL programming language, which is has a lack of data type. It's very millennia flaw kind of stuff. Yeah, they use COBOL. This means that some entries with missing or incomplete birth dates will default to a reference point of more than 150 years ago. The news organization Wired first reported on the use of COBOL programming language at the Social Security Administration. Additionally, a series of reports from Social Security Administration's Inspector General in March of 2023 and July of 2024 state that the agency has not established a new system to properly annotate death information in its database, which included roughly 18.9 million Social Security numbers of people born in 1920 or earlier, but were not marked as deceased. This does not mean, however, these individuals were receiving benefits. The agency decided not to update the database because the cost to do so would run upward of $9 million. That's it. You want to solve this problem? You're not going to save millions of dollars. You're going to spend millions of dollars. That's it. They're not going to find that a bunch of people are getting paid out to call it. A July 2023 Social Security OIG report states that almost none of the number holders discussed in the report currently receive SSA payments. It's about 85,000, which is how many over 100-year-old people there are in the country. What are some of the concerns of misinformation about this? Okay. What does the White House say? Carolina, a previous investigation revealed that SSA paid $71.8 billion in improper payments. Social Security Administration is now working to find even more waste, fraud, and abuse in administration. Okay. Yeah, a previous investigation, not by you guys, largely under the Obama administration. You know why? Because they were trying to pay for the fucking ACA. So they were clawing back costs, just like Trump is trying to do, but he's trying to do it with a with his stupid tax cut. Where are you silly thing? All right. So anyways, back to this dipshit for 1 second.
Can that possibly be real?
Well, Crystal Ball debunked it in a very mealy-mouthed Fauci way by saying, no, it's a problem with, they have like an old program that they're using, and that's probably why they're getting those readings. It was not the debunking I was promised from the title, I'll tell you that.
And it was from a chick. So, right, Kurt?
So here's what Bannon has to
And by the way, is he live streaming from a fucking bus stop?
say about this, cutting Medicaid and Medicare.
The Budget Committee is trying to get to, I understand they're going to vote it out tonight. Hey, here's all, I want to know how many cuts, and the same with Steve, they're dealing with the fiscal 2026 budget, fine. Show me the $1 trillion in cuts. I don't want a $2 trillion deficit. I want to see it cut in half. How'd you do it? What they're talking about, the $1.5 trillion over 10 years, that's $150 billion a year. Now, I realize it's maybe taken differently, but it's $150 billion a year. It's not going to work. And to back it up, if you got the CR on the 14th, we got to fund the government going forward, or maybe not. But I don't see him shutting down President Trump's government in his first 100 days. It's, how can we possibly have a $2 trillion deficit? Where are the Doge cuts? We need them all. They've had enough time to identify at least the waste, fraud, and abuse in these different organizations. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Also, I don't know why there's classical music playing. Is Steve being walked off? Is he accepting some sort of award for shittiest mantle? Also, I don't know why. I guess Jimmy's show is just him watching Steve Bannon now. Is that the show?
Because they'll go through a lot more refinement even after approval. We have to know directionally where we are. And it
sorry, it was all bullshit, Joel.
Galls me. They're working off Biden's number. I hope it galls the president. I think when the president's fully briefed and fully informed, it'll gall him big league. I think he'll say, what in the hell are we doing here with Biden's numbers? It's an interesting question. I think it's generally confusion and mayhem with Capitol Hill, but hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's some logic here. Maybe they're making some progress on this.
You want me to? Can I solve it for you? I mean, I'm sorry to interrupt your viewing time, Jimmy. What are you just going? Maybe I should try wearing 4 shirts. What's going on? So, can I just explain it? There are not that many cuts to make. There's some, bloviated anti-woman, anti-trans, anti-gay, anti-job creation, anti-homeless stuff that you guys can throw around that you consider a waste of money. But there aren't billions and billions in waste, fraud, and abuse because it's not a company. They're talking about it like someone is embezzling from a company. And they aren't. Because a company, you can embezzle the profits of a company and maybe destroy the company in the process, but the purpose of the company is to make money and give that money to the investors or the people who own the company or the board and to pay the salaries. But the government is a service, and the service is more important than the money, no matter what you do. And that's always going to be a problem for Republican governance. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think they actually want to do it in the first place. Again, the motto of Republicans is government can't do anything right. Elect me and I'll prove it.
But until we see the math, and I mean hundreds of billions of dollars of cuts, hundreds of billions of dollars of cuts, and stop whining about entitlements, get into that discretionary spending, get into the Pentagon, get into Medicaid. Medicaid, you got to be careful because a lot of MAGAs on Medicaid. I'm telling you.
Look at Jimmy. They want to cut Medicaid. Yeah, we know, motherfucker. That's what we were talking about. Yeah, they're going to cut Medicaid. That's what he thinks. But they're afraid to because there's a bunch of maggots on it. MAGA's all over that shit. Again, they're not going to find these cuts. They're going to make them up. The more they talk about a $23,000 comic book for to support trans people, the more they're flailing. Every single thing they bring up in the millions is a pathetic admission that they're not anywhere near the fucking goal they said would be easy to find. It's bullshit. They know it. And Elon and the Doge bags aren't even in it for the cuts. They're there for the information they can get access to because it's fucking priceless. So they are using the illusion that they're going to cut from because by the time people wake up to it, they're not going to blame Doge for not finding the cuts. They're going to assume they found all the ones they could find that the Congress could stomach. All the weight of it will shift to the Republicans in the House and the Senate for not, and they'll just make up all these, like, we gave them $500 million and they won't do it, right? They'll shift it onto them, and then they'll beat feet. They'll leave town with all of your social security numbers and all of your fucking backdoors to bank accounts and all the fucking the treasury information on like the leadership and everybody at every bank and federal and financial institution in the country, right? Never mind what they might get by looking, going into the military. And again, not going to happen. Like that, that's where the wall comes up. When they start going over, like, we're going to let them go over to the Pentagon, believe me, That's when Trump's phone won't stop ringing and everybody freaks the fuck out. Yeah, don't panic, but watch as these guys eat themselves. But it's a show. Doge is nonsense. Yeah, Doge is TikTok. Yeah, it's a fucking farce. USA is going down fast. It isn't actually, though. Master 303, it isn't. It's a lot more resilient than they want. That's what I'm saying. Even these cuts aren't going anywhere. Because the debt isn't that bad, and they know it. They know it. We have a $26, $27 trillion economy. The addition of AI is going to add an extra $15 trillion over the next decade at least. Probably $5 trillion every 2 years. No matter what anybody does. If you don't collapse the whole thing, even if you do, the bounce back, they know they're going to buy it. That's why Wall Street's not that afraid of Trump. Because they'll just wait and buy the dip. They're sitting on cash. They know it's far more resilient. I'll play the clip of the Trump getting castigated by the governor of Maine. I think it was under heated exchange, which I didn't see earlier. Yeah, this was well, I'll leave you with this. Get used to this guy being miserable, and congrats to the governor of Maine. Hold on. Yeah.
Has complied immediately, by the way. That's good. But I understand Maine. Is Maine here, the governor of Maine? Well,
she goes, "You're damn right I am." Hold on.
Are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with state and federal laws.
Well, we are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding.
See you in court.
Every state, good. I'll see you.
She said, "See you in court."
In court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one.
No, it shouldn't, fuckwad. You're a Republican arguing against states' rights right now, you dummy. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I should have. That was wrong of me. I apologize, everybody. Nut warning. So, yeah, here you go. Yeah, I that was my fault. I should have. Has everybody had time to leave the room? Yeah, executive orders are not law. They can get rescinded by the next person. And again, he's wearing out his welcome with maggots already. And this is a governor from a state that borders Canada. She's pushing back, and she's not afraid of him at all.
And enjoy your life after governor, because I don't think you'll be in elected politics. Every state has a responsibility to comply with Title IX. They have an obligation, a legal obligation. And we'll be enforcing aggressively, and we're going to be protecting our citizens. We're going to protect. So just to end, this administration has been fighting.
Look how fucking miserable he is. Yeah, like he thinks he knows he got dunked on. He knows. President of the United States and a governor from a state was like, "See you in court." He's like, "Yeah, well, good luck not being governor because you probably are going to lose your job, lady." And she's like, "Whatever." She just shrugged it the fuck off. And then Pritzker's state of the state in Illinois has pushed back against this. There's a bunch of, they've threatened governors before. Look, presidents have been shitty. This is more like, this is more reminiscent. This Make America Great Again shit that he's always pushing. It's really just like go back to the 50s and 40s. They used to shit talk like this all the time. And I'll remind everybody that when Johnson was fucking president, the aptly named Lyndon Johnson, he apparently had an enormous crank. And some people may know the story, but a female reporter, apparently asked him what his plan was for the Vietnam War. And he took his dick out and showed it to her and said, "This is my plan." And then put his dick. The idea being that I have the bigger dick. Johnson did that. Like, come on. We've survived asshole, scumbag, dickhead, fuckface, twerp. I forget all the ones that Kevin Kline said in Fish Called Wanda presidents before, right? Yeah, then he lasted one term, exactly. And Trump is a mess. And I would like to, I don't think it's pretty obvious, look at the hair. It's going, folks. This is going to be gone before the midterms. What do you think he's going to do? Toupee or filler? What do you think? Do they make that blonde topic stuff? Do they make white topic or piss colored cotton candy topic? Or maybe just get some piss colored cotton candy and just staple it to the top of his fucking head. But what do you think's gonna happen? You think he's just gonna let him, he's going bald quickly. It's gonna happen really quick. He tried on a different hairstyle where he was pushing it back to try and move it all down the center of his head to just make himself look like he has crow's feet, right? And you think spray paint? Yeah. But it's going to be gone. It's going to be gone very soon. It's really obvious to everybody. So, and it's not going to get better. He's going to start wearing hats, you think, inside? He's going to look like President Bogart. He's bald on the back of his neck. Well, I think, didn't he have scalp reduction surgery? Wasn't that part of the story in The Apprentice? It's a lace front wig? I don't think so. I think it's just a standard comb over. It's too light. It's too thin. If it was a lace front, it would just be there. I don't think he's got the patience for it. I think his ego won't allow him to wear it. He's just bullshitting himself. And what he's going to end up with is a big bald spot back here, and all he's going to look at is this. And he thinks he's not going to check the back of his head. Nobody's going to check for him because nobody dares tell him he's wrong. Toupee or not toupee? That is the wigwam. I'm telling you that here, look. That's not a lace front at all. That's just a comb over. That's growing the thin stuff and combing it this way. And he's doing it out of habit. You could argue that if he started over here and he just moved his part the other direction, maybe he is. Maybe that's what's happening. Oh, maybe it's so thin over here, he's got nothing to go this way. So he started doing, that's why his hair changed. That's what it was. That's why his hairdo changed. He moved his part. He went from combing over from this side because it was getting too thin to combing over from that side, and it doesn't reach. There's not enough of it either. That's what's going on. That's what it looks like. Because remember when there was this weird moment where his fucking see if they show a straight ahead of him where this part, remember it started to droop down because it looked like this part was falling, right? And this was this area over here. I think it's this growing out and they're going this direction now. He's doing the weave on his head, right? He's getting his weave snatched. Yeah, he's not wearing a wig yet. But it won't be long, kids. It won't be long. The problem, though, is he should have gotten rid of his nunt when he was a candidate. You know what I mean? He should have had the fucking jaw tuck or whatever that, thing. I guess the little, whatever the stringing that they do. It does like this, and they pull your jaw up that a lot of old people have or whatever. It's like the poor man's facelift. It doesn't cost that much. You should have done that when you had a chance, when you were having a break. Could have done it, Apparently, it's outpatient surgery. Nobody would have noticed. And you're so orange, nobody's, you wear a bunch of orange, you'll cover up whatever bruising there is from it. But now you can't, because you're the president. You can't go have surgery without it being, national news, and everybody's going to be looking at you and walking around, that stuff. Yeah. He can't, we're stuck with the nunt for the foreseeable future. And how long? Okay, let's take a couple bets and then I'll leave you guys. First of all, I think we start seeing is it called a fall? Look at me pretending not to know. I don't know what they call that, that Sarah Palin thing that they sell online, where you attach it to your crown and it puffs your hair up, that girls wear, like that redneck girl attachment that gives you that kind of weird back head bun thing, right? The bump, yeah. And then there's so a fall is like a slight drape of that, where you can attach a piece, I guess, and comb it into the hair, I think, right? I've had extensions at one point. When I was growing my hair out a long time ago, I was tired of waiting because I knew I was going to have to cut it for the next show I did. So I was like, I want my hair longer. So I put in extensions for a little while, and it pulled my hair down. This was when was it? 2006 maybe? And it actually helped make my hair grow faster, because the weight of it was always pulling on my fucking follicles. It was like a fuzzy pumper barbershop. It just kept pulling it down. But now I don't need it. Hi. I feel like I should wear lighter color shirts now all the time so you can actually see the length. But anyways, you can, I guess, clip some in, and then that would be the thing, right? That would be the first one. That would be stage one, if they talk him into that. I doubt he's going to get the old, where they put snaps in your head. He can't get a transplant because he doesn't have enough donor hair. I think that's why they did the scalp reduction, right? That was the story around that. And his hair is really fine anyways, so he just ended up having a bunch of red dots on the top of his head. It looked like he'd been shot with a shotgun full of rock salt on the top of his head for a long time, and it still wouldn't grow in. So yeah, I think they got to attach something. Right? I think they got to put something in there that fills it in. I mean, he's the president. You could come up with something, right? Jesus. Glue sticks work? Right? That'll do it. Sorry, staff chat says what? Oh, this is the Donald Trump's hair. Did he have a hair transplant? Let's see. Donald Trump has never openly admitted to having a hair transplant. Let's see. None of the procedures have been officially confirmed. Linkoff believes Trump had the following. 1970s, he had a punch graft hair transplant. Wow, that's early. That's back when, what was it? What was Bill Burr's bit about hair transplants? Where he's like, I wish I'd have done this sooner. No, you don't. Back when they were fucking stapling ant legs to people's heads. He had a left rotational flap in a right rotational flap in 91. So he did both of those. That would be the scalp reduction. So they took his hair here, and then they cut hair out of they cut skin out of his head and moved his hairline up. And then he had FUE here, follicular unit extraction in 2011. That was recent. And then follicular unit transplantation and FUT extract both are hair transplants. Okay, what's the difference? FUT is what is the FUT? Is a hair restoration technique used to remove healthy hair follicles from one area of the body and transplant it to the hair sparse one area of the body. Wait, so he moved pubes or ass hair? That might explain his thinking. Maybe he had armpit hair put on his head. That also makes sense. It would explain the smell. While FUE hair transplants are the most popular method, more than 21% of male patients and 42% of female patients use FUT. Foot leaves some light scarring around the back. Oh, I see. So this is the surgery one where they cut. That's what Rogan has, that scar on the back of his head when he had hair transplant. They cut the skin and they move it. Women do it because they're never gonna cut their hair short, so they don't care. The FUE, that would be that's the machine thing that they punch holes at. Yeah, the Wimpole Clinic. I'm like, I hope that's the back of his head. The FUE is performed using a punch with a diameter of around 1 millimeter. This is used to harvest individual hair follicles, which can then be transplanted. Your surgeon will make small incisions in your balding area using a blade or needle and transplant these grafts into the cuts. FUE surgery itself takes just a few hours, but the growth takes several months. Most of the transplanted hair will shed within a month. However, as the cuts heal and the grafts settle, they'll begin to produce new hair growth, and usually starts around 3 to 4 months after the transplant. So whatever he had in 2011, it wasn't until 2013 that it happened, that it came back in. So that they take it out of here, and they put it here. There's a lot more hair density here than here, and so you get this. And this is the little picture of it. There's the little punch, which looks like a magic marker, and then they pull it out. Oh, they punch the skin. Okay, punch, incision, yeah. Graft extraction, growth harvesting, and growth implantation. Oh, they dip it in some glue or something, and then they stick it in your head. So that's what he had in 2011 was the FUE. I think that's the way to go. Punch graft, rotational. What's rotational flap? Is another type of hair restoration procedure, although it's used for reconstruction non-cosmetic surgeries. It involves rotating a section of the scalp with the healthy hair follicles to cover a balding area. The flap stays attached at one end to maintain blood supply. This technique can give instant coverage and create a natural-looking hairline, but it can leave significant hair transplant scarring. Nowadays, FUE and FUT, that would be they fucking cut your head and rotate it. So they take a big chunk of hair like this, an area where there's a lot of hair. That would explain his fucking Fender hairdo thing. And they take this flap of skin and they rotate it up, and then they take the other piece of skin and rotate it down, I guess? They just... God damn. I'm grossed out imagining it. Oh, and there's his different haircut thing where he had the haircut from Christopher Lloyd in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. The dip. Yeah, but it's all coming out. Yeah. Yes, it involves 5 eggs. So yeah, so my theory is they'll use a fall, some sort of temporary cover, and he'll do it because he'll have a hair person that will give him, Mr. President, we can cover that if you want that. We have a great thing. I can just pop that in there. No one will know. You can put it in yourself if you don't want to be bothered. I can show you how to do it, and I don't have to sign an NDA. You're the president, so it's automatic. And we could put that in there, and we'll just slowly add on one. We can add, and people. It'll really be unnoticeable, Mr. President. I could see that happening, and him buying into that. But or he's on such a brain fade, he's not even noticing. He's just seeing the front of his hair, and he doesn't realize he's going bald to the back, and he's just ignoring it. He doesn't look at the top of his head. He doesn't look at the back of his head, and everybody's afraid to tell him. When you got to do like mine, you got to check the periphery. You got to check the whole thing before you leave the house. Because you can have a sleep knot if you're not careful. That's very unbecoming. My theory is they start using a fall, or somebody starts dusting him in when he's there. It becomes obvious at one point, and then it comes straight toupee. Yeah. The hair elves will do it while you sleep. Look up the guy with hair growing in his mouth from the transplant. What? Ew. No. Hair in mouth transplant. Why would that be? What? Oral maxillofacial surgeons move HC over dens performing hair transplant surgeries. A giant lip scar, camouflage hair grafts by. Oh, I see. That's because a guy got his cleft palate fixed, and they were covering his cleft palate with hair grafts, and some of the hair grew through the mouth because they cut the skin and put it together to fix the cleft palate. That's not that uncommon. I want to say it was Andy. I'm not going to show it because it's gross. But Andy Richter once talked about one of the reasons he quit Conan was because he was sick of looking at male stars who'd had plastic surgery, where they basically like take your ears up, pull your skin back, and then put your ears back down. That's how they do the graft. So the line is covered by where your ear is. Right? So they pull the skin up under and it tucks behind your ear, but you end up with beard hair behind your ears. You either have to have it, if you haven't done, like, I don't know, you have to like laser hair removal. If you don't do that, you're going to have a hair growing right behind your ears. And apparently he got sick of seeing it. And allegedly it was from Mel Gibson. That was the one that did it. That Mel Gibson was a guest on the show, and he couldn't stop staring at the hair behind his ears from his facelift. So, and here's the thing: do what you got to do, people. I don't care. I'm not going to judge anybody. I'm vain as fuck. I'm totally fine with that. I've just been managing really, really well. But like, I have no problem with people nipping and tucking and doing whatever. I don't understand, as an actor, I don't understand Botox at all, because the whole point is you need your face to move. And maybe I have too much fun being a silly rubber-faced git. But, like, if you took away my ability to make faces, I'd be screwed. I don't know how a comedian ever can do that, unless your whole maybe Stephen Wright. Maybe the one person, Stephen Wright and Anthony Jeselnik, both of them could do Botox and get away with it. As a matter of fact, I would consider it a performance enhancing drug. Right? But do what you got to do. I don't care. But don't, shit on other people's looks if you're getting a lot of work done, I think would be the key. Rattlesnake poison? Does that work too? Crazy Insane Alien? I'm not going to do it. This could, sorry, I'm your age, Hal. Botox is great. You could still pull faces. I don't know. I can independently move every muscle in my face to an extraordinary amount, to the point where I was able to mimic the Sledgehammer video in school. You could have a steam train coming if you just lay down your tracks. You can have an aeroplane flying if you bring your blue sky back. Right? So I used to do that in school all the time as a dick. But I also, here, watch my bottom lip. Like, I can move both eyebrows and isolate. Believe me, ladies, come on. I mean, yes, I have full lips. Yes, they're lovely, but they're also dexterous. I can do a lot with them. The important thing, though, is that I wouldn't ever give that up. I would rather have the wrinkles. Right? You need to stop that. All right. Anyways, I'm going to go because I got a radio show to do in the morning, and we're just hanging out. And I can't just be here all evening waiting for the kidney to show up. And
the kidney has a very special place in the heart.
You don't say. I disagree. take it and you like it. Yeah. Baby. You know it. Oh yes, thank you, Kathy. All right. Super chat's always welcome. There's the Venmo. All right. Come on. I gotta go eat dinner. Good Lord. Hang out with you guys all night. I'm having too much fun. I'm sorry, Charlie Murphy. I'm having too much fun. I'm having too much fun.
Sportos and motorheads, geeks, sluts, bloods, wastoids, dweebies, dickheads. They all adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
Oh, thank you for becoming a member. Thanks for joining, everybody. Hey, Twitch people, subscribe.